This is the second part of a two-part video on fault detection and the replacing of a motor in a Hotpoint TDL30 tumble dryer. The procedure would also be effective on some other models in the Hotpoint, Creeder, Indesit and Ariston range of tumble dryers. The first part covered testing and removal of the motor. This part covers replacing the motor. Before you fit or replace anything inside a tumble dryer cabinet, give it a clean out to remove any excess dust or fluff. The fan assembly faces outwards, so it's a good idea to ensure the motor mounting is facing the correct way before fitting the motor, because it can be fitted either way round. Also remember to have the wiring on the correct side of the motor when it's fitted, or it won't be long enough to reach the capacitor. The holes in the motor casing may not be threaded either, so check first, and if needed cut the thread with the screws before attaching it to the mounting. It's easier that way. The self-tapping screws on this motor are Torx screws, size 25, but other machines could use bolts or Phillips screws. If you're searching for a specific part for your domestic appliance and can't find it online, give us a ring, because if we don't carry the part, we can probably get it for you. When you've fitted the screws, give them an extra tweak, just to be sure they're all tight and the motor won't vibrate loose. I find it easier to insert a screw into one of the holes in the base of the cabinet first, then locate the motor assembly onto it, rather than trying to line the holes up before fitting the screws. Once the first screw's in, the others are straightforward, but make sure they're tight and there's no movement in the motor. If you've been wise, you would have noted or taken a photo of which wires fitted together and on which terminals, if you have a capacitor with 4 terminals, or which coloured wires went together if there are only 2 terminals on your capacitor. The wire from the motor that has a sleeve on it will fit into the one from the machine, which is also sleeved, although the colours will probably be different. Never rush when it comes to rewiring an appliance, because you could quite easily connect to the wrong terminal and blow a component, or even cause the cabinet to become live. So at the very least, double check that the wires you're fitting actually go on the terminals you're putting them on. This is why we say take a photo or make a note of which wires go where when you dismantle any appliance. Group the wires together with a cable tie. This will keep them tidy and less likely to get caught or pulled. There will probably be a line around the drum where the belt fitted. Use this line as a guide for the refitting of the belt. Place the blade of a long screwdriver between the belt and the drum. Hook the end of it under the pulley shaft and lever it down. This will stretch the belt enough to allow you to slide it onto the pulley. Retract the screwdriver and align the belt. If you're fitting a new motor, you may have to cut the thread in the fan mounting on the motor shaft, because they're not always threaded. As with the motor fixing holes, it will be easier to do this before you try to fit the fan. Make sure the fan blades are not bent or twisted in any way, because if they are, it could cause the motor to vibrate or may rub on the cabinet during normal operation. When you're happy the fan is tight and fitted correctly, then replace the heater cover. Make sure only small screws are fitted. or you'll be left with ill-fitting screws elsewhere on the machine. Replace the bearing cover, and as with all the other screws on the cabinet, try not to over tighten them because you can strip the thread. However, you can always fit larger screws if you do. Make sure the wiring is all tied down and there are no loose cables to rub on the drum as it revolves, or they could cause the machine to short out. You may not have noticed how the side panel was fitted when you removed it, but it does matter because the screws may not all fit as they should. The underside of the panel rests on the base of the cabinet, but the upright back edge is on the outside of the rear panel. If you deviate from this, you'll have trouble fitting the bottom front screw, and the same with the back. You may also find the cabinet is slightly out of square and could under some circumstances vibrate. All three screws that fit in the front of the panel, that's the two at the top and the one under the kick strip at the bottom, are large, whilst all the others are the smaller ones, so only fit the larger screws where they're meant to go. Make sure you tie the cable up to the panel before you fit the top on, or you could have another situation where it would possibly rub on the drum and cause a short circuit. Before refitting the console panel, connect the wires to the half heat button, and if you have any other buttons, connect the wires to them also. You should have labelled which ones fit each button when you removed them. This lip on the fascia panel hooks into the cabinet just here. Hook it on and replace the two internal screws. Be extra careful when replacing these screws that they don't drop inside the cabinet, or you may have a job retrieving them. Another plus for a magnetic screwdriver tip. The control knob only fits on one way, so be sure that the flat side is in line with the timer shaft before pushing it on. You shouldn't run the machine with the top off like this, but I am, just to show that it's working. Fit the top and screw it down, then fit the kick strip, which only pushes on. On behalf of Selfix UK, we'd like to thank you for watching this video and hope you found it interesting. Goodbye.